All right, so I have this rack here, rack and mounting bolts. So this is gonna go on my trail, and basically it mounts where the fork clamps are, the lower clamp and the top clamp. That's how it fits. So I have longer bolts and shorter bolts, 2 long bolts, 2 short bolts, some washers and some spacers. Let's see where those goes. But actually, let's look at preview here. So here's the rack, and you can see how it's angled for the bottom bolts, and it's it's perpendicular for the top bolt. So basically, it goes something like that. Something like that above the headlight. Right, so that's that. So let's start taking this thing apart. We need let's see, we need some 5 millimeter, excuse me, 6 millimeters, 6 millimeter 6 millimeter Allen keys, Allen wrenches. So I got that. Where did I put that? There it is. So 6 millimeters. I'd say it's probably best to do this top first, because if you do both of them, the fork leg will just slide, right? Both of these, the fork leg will slide out. So I don't want it to slide, so I'm just gonna do the top ones, the top both sides first, and then the bottom ones. Actually, before I even do that, let's look at this mounting thing, so I know which screw, which bolt goes where. Once I take the bolt out, I should know. I probably know. Let's see. So there's instructions, all that stuff. Let's get the razor here. I sure took this down. Cut it from right here. This is gonna show. There we go. So this thing shows, okay, so the spacers, we want the top bolt. So the washer is obviously behind the bolt itself. The bottom one has no spacer. It's only the top one that has a spacer between the rack and the mounting clamp. Okay, that's easy enough. It doesn't tell you which one's longer, which one's shorter. So I think the longer one is down here. So this is longer right here, versus that being shorter. Even with the spacer is not that long. And the spacer is still shorter than here. So the longer bolts is up here. So that should be easy enough. All right, so let's bring it up to the bike. So I'm gonna do let's do the top light first. So again, I'm just gonna do top first, then the bottom. That way, if I do, if I take this all out, that the fork will just slide on the clamp, and it's gonna give you problems. It's gonna make it complicated. Even though this is a light bike, it's still still heavy to be lifting the thing with one hand when you're trying to wrench with the other hand, and that's just too much. That's more work than needs to be done. So got that open. Open up the bolt package. So that's the shorter one. Shorter one. Bolt and washer. So I'll mop this up real quick. In here. Okay, so I see why this side needs washing, because this thing right here is flat, and this is an instep, so it needs a spacer. Whereas down here, it's angled, so it just sits right in there, so it's no big deal there. Okay, so that makes sense. All right, so I need that spacer first. Okay, let me get the bolts out. Bolt, washer, and spacer. So bolt washer and spacer. So there's my washer right there, like so. Spacer goes in, like so. Bolt right here. Just up to the top. Oops. Oh, this is a very tight fit. Okay, stick it in there so that way it holds its place. Same thing with the other side. So as well, bolt, washer, and the spacer on the other side. Okay, so once both sides in, I just start turning this. Hopefully I can get some threads in there. So there's some threads in there, so it's not going to go anywhere. Same thing with the other side. Some threads in there, it's not going to go anywhere. And let me cinch it down just a tiny bit, just enough so that way, hopefully, it still allows me to kind of wiggle this, but at the same time, enough where it clamps so my my fork doesn't slide on the fork clamp. I think that's probably tight enough to hold it, hopefully. We see once I start loosening up these slides, see if the thing slides or not. Hopefully not. Actually, let me get the bolts ready just in case I could just slip it in real fast. Let's see. This one I haven't cut open yet. Washers, washer there, washer here. All right, so I'm gonna have these two bolts ready. As soon as I take this out, hopefully it doesn't, the fork doesn't drop, hopefully. Let's see, we know right now. Let me unbolt this. Once I unbolt this, we'll know. Doesn't look like it's dropping. Okay, so it's not, something's dropping. If I put some pressure on it right now, it probably would drop. Yeah. So there's some dust in here. I'm gonna blow it out. The top side didn't really have it because the bottom side here just went where the dirt and everything kind of collects or sprays up from the tires. So I don't see the forks dropping at all. So that's good. Stay in place. So just kind of move that around a little bit. Stick it in there. There we go. This is one of the easiest installs to do, and I like this rack because it's look how thick this tubing is. If it's tubing or I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure if this is tubing or solid. I think it's solid actually. Yeah, solid. So it's bar stock. So it's like this is thicker than it looks thicker than 1/4 inch. Not quite 3/8, but well, this is Japanese, so it's probably a metric. So it's so this is a 6mm. Yeah, 6mm, so it's thicker than 6mm. It looks like it's possibly 8 or 9. 8 or 9 millimeters. Oops. So turn it by hand. Turn it by hand, make sure everything's aligned properly. These ones are sort of tightened down slightly already, so. I'm not sure what the torque value on this is. This is probably, well, it's not a very, this bolt right here, it's not that big, so it's probably, well, I don't know, maybe 15 foot-pounds or somewhere around there. 20 at the most, I'm guessing. All right, so there it is. It's done. Now I'm gonna put my mesh screen back on, and I might consider the windshield, but I don't think that's gonna work. If I have the windshield here, I can't put anything right here, and I can't strap stuff on because it's in the way of the windshield. Anyway, so that's how it looks. So yeah, I like it because it's nice and thick and heavy duty. And I like where it mounts. I like the fact that it mounts on the structural part, on the structural parts, versus mounting on the headlight bracket. Because I've seen other racks where they mount on the headlight bracket. I don't think it's that strong. All right. So that's it. Thanks for watching. All right, one last shot here. I put on the mesh back on here, so it fits. Looking right down here, you see that there's space between the rack and the bracket here for the mesh, but on this side there isn't space. It actually touches, so hopefully that doesn't cause it too much harm. Maybe I should physically push this that way, push this over to the throttle side more. That means this gap will close, but this gap will open, so who knows. So hopefully the way it is, it doesn't, like, as long as it's not all noisy, all clank, 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 vibrating right here, I'll probably be okay with it. Again, I probably will push it a little bit just to put less pressure, less tension right here, and take up a little bit of other space right here. I have one final clip here, so I'm looking at my little windshield thing. Obviously it doesn't fit because this windshield is too wide. So you look straight down it, you see that the rack here is actually just inset. It's just inset of where the bracket is by, I don't know, maybe 10 millimeters or so, or maybe 12 millimeters, half an inch or so. So obviously it's too wide, right? But if I line this hole up right here, the mounting hole with the bolt, and I line it up right there, so I can see that, okay, where I could actually possibly trim this down, right? I can actually possibly trim it down, right? So the hole's lined up right there. So basically this rack kind of lines up with that bolt, the bottom bolt on the windshield. So you look at the windshield here, the bottom bolt, right? The bottom bolt lines up with the bottom bolt, but you see where the mounting bracket here, in relation to the bottom bolt, since it was in about half an inch or so, if I trim the windshield, like say from up right here about halfway up, I just trim it down, as long as the plastic here is inside of this by about half an inch. So basically I'm gonna go like something like that. I should be able to fit this windshield in. But the reality is that this windshield doesn't do much because it's so small and it's so low that maybe I might get a bigger windshield. And I think the other windshields, because this one is mounted on where the headlight bracket is mounted on, so it's not the most sturdy mounting location. Whereas, especially when you going, you know, 50 miles an hour, the wind kind of pushes on this. So the other windshields I've seen that were bigger than this, a little bigger than this, they actually mounted, I think, on the handlebars or somewhere else, where it's a little bit more sturdy. So because they're bigger, they catch more wind. You know, because this thing would just pivot basically, essentially, right? So I might just order a different windshield, possibly, or I might, you know, modify this, and we'll see. I might just modify this just because, then and order a new windshield. So anyway, so yeah, so that's that. So on to the next project.